Journeys ahead to Lineage Finale. Ascension. Written and narrated by T.S. ProArt. Thank you for listening. In quiet steps, both Core and Sika emerged from a loose metal floorboard and emerged before the matter vat. Nobody was around. Matira, Talos, the demons. For what should have been a positive, it truly felt more like a negative than anything else. "Let's hurry. She's right there," Sika said as Joby rested asleep within the matter vat's upper capsule.
"I know. Stay low,"
Core replied as the two of them began to stealthily move their way forwards.
"Hang on, Pumpkin. We're here. Mommy and Daddy are here,"
the older Novason whispered as he slowly began to extend his white matter essence up towards the vat. Carefully, he began to pull and tug at the golden glowing glass, feeling ever tense to what he was doing. Come on, Sika whispered with a shake, wanting nothing more than to embrace her daughter again. Suddenly and without warning, both Core and Sika were lifted off the ground by a golden energy force of light matter. Their bodies immediately stung to tight restraints, for they had been restrained and caught.
"No!"
Core cried out as the spark-born power faded. "Joby, no!" Sika wailed, when from thin air, Matira appeared in a shimmering light. Looking down upon the couple, she couldn't help but shake her head and smile with glee. "Please, do you two really think taking my prize conductor was gonna be so simple?" she asked before flicking her wrist and slamming the duo upon the floor. "Gah! Why? How could you do this? We trusted you!" The Sparkette wailed out in pain as Matira began to force weight upon their bodies. "This is the only way to save our kind. Do you have any idea the turmoil I had faced upon seeing my creations die to those glitchy, stuttering pests?" Matira asked as the duo tried to fight back against their holds. "Do you know how it feels trying to fix things, only for everyone to disagree? Like I didn't start all of this to begin with." Matira ranted on as Core and Sika started to have difficulty breathing. "I made you. I made all of you. Long gone are the days of honor and loss. For what race is left to stand for that cause?" The goddess screamed, sounding nearly maniacal in her words. "Those who arrive from Earth's ashes will be the next generation under my rule. And it's all thanks to you." Matira now cackled as the couple below struggled to stay awake.
"Not on our watch!"
The voice of Void suddenly shouted from the side, making Matira turn in surprise, only to be met with an electrical fist to the face. Like a literal lightning bolt, Void came unexpectedly and fast, striking with such force the goddess went shouting and sprawling to the ground. As she landed, the other sparks, as well as those who accompanied them, appeared from all corners, having climbed all the way up to aid Core and Sika. Reaching down, Void and Jida quickly helped them up, as everyone prepared themselves for an inevitable battle. "Oh, she's huge," Winona said with worry while gripping onto her metal slab.
"And ugly,"
Tucker added as he and Sarv aimed their weapons. "Shut it down, Matira, or we will," Void boasted as he clenched his fists, ready to strike. Wiping her now bleeding mouth, Matira looked everyone down with her glowing yellow eye and began to expand her wings. Smirking, she started to cackle again in awe towards everyone below, finding this all to be amusing.
You precious fools. You're all stuck in your old ways,
the goddess stated as she merely levitated without even bringing forth a weapon. Ways you set us up for! What have you become, Matira? You were supposed to be the best of us! Lee cried with dismay as she and the others deployed their battle helmets.
People change, my dear. Even gods experience things that lead them down different paths. It is just one world. Why can't you see how ridiculous this endeavor is?
The goddess asked with a wave in her hands. Suddenly, the Mattervat station began to rise until reaching a crested glass casing top. This was the Reformattor's highest peak, a viewing place that now overlooked Earth and space. It was beautiful, when now everyone could realize to be their final stand. With a shout, Matira released an energy surge so powerful that it ignited the matter and all of her surroundings into a shining, energized state.
Let's speed up the process, shall we?
She asked, as the craft intercom boomed for all to hear.
Extraction time remaining. T minus 10 minutes.
To everyone's horror, Matira had turned herself into a core component of the machine. It didn't matter now how much they disabled. Matira in and of herself was now a battery source for everything.
Oh no!
Alice gasped with the alert, for Matira had just changed the game.
I am a goddess, you fools. Do you truly believe you can defeat me?
She wanted to know, making everyone below feel uneasy. Looking back, Void didn't even know what to say. They were outmatched, but they had to try, for everything was resting on their shoulders.
For those we lost, and for those we honor,
the Blue Spark stated, as he and the others fully prepared for the fight.
Very well,
Matira replied as she made the first move. In a sharp warp, Matira teleported and landed heels first into the center of the group, sending everyone crashing across the floor. Gasping, Void extended his arms out and caught Jida, using himself as a brace that stopped her fall. Matira cackled, watching in glee as everyone stood back upon their feet. Scowling, Atlas transformed his legs into their wheelie form and rushed upon the goddess. With just a flick of her hand, Atlas was suddenly sent flying through the air and crashed hard upon the ground.
Yawn,
Matira sarcastically stated, as she used her powers to raise cables out from the floor to keep Atlas down.
Alice!
Evelyn cried as she suddenly surged with her Sparkborn power. In a flash, she zipped from left to right, moving at what everyone realized to be enhanced speed. We got your back! Harmony exclaimed as her and Lee began to charge up. Unleashing her music notes, Harmony launched Lee up into the air with them, in which she began to slash with her stinger. Without even breaking a sweat, Matira twirled out of the way with a purple golden shine. With the sway of her dress, she created a whirlwind of matter that caught Evelyn up in a vortex of power. Launching up from the gust, she crashed into an advancing Lee, sending the two ladies landing hard into the metal floor.
Impressive. You would have made for excellent knights,
the goddess stated with her sinister tone, before turning and shooting a bolt of black lightning out from her dark matter arm, striking Harmony down in a temporarily paralyzed state. With a leap, Coco and Jet went to strike Matira in the back, but like before, she dealt with them with ease. With a clap in her wings, she folded them backwards and smashed the two of them together, before batting them aside. Running forwards with guns blazing, Sarv and Tucker attempted to do what they could to help, only for Matira to entangle them like Atlas.
This is truly a waste of time. I haven't even used my spear,
she stated, as Pavnu attempted to bite into her skin.
God! Bad puppy!
The goddess bellowed as she quickly snagged Pavnu by the tails and threw her right into Winona, who didn't even have time for a planned attack.
Unhand our daughter!
Sika cried out as her, Kor, Void, and Jida all sprung into action. Deploying her candy cane-shaped weapon, the jolly-looking Spark attempted to slash into her goddess, who quickly turned to the side and slashed Sika back, striking her so hard her right horn shattered apart.
Sika!
The three below cried as the Sparket landed hard upon the ground in pain. Scowling, Jida unleashed a wave of fire to the ground that appeared to partially burn away Matira's exposed dark matter. Amidst this, both Void and Kor leapt together with their fists raised back in a combination of bright blues and yellows. Without effort, Matira simply threw her hand out again, sending the duo crashing hard into the ground.
Weak and pathetic, just as you always have been.
Matira stated, as she suddenly turned to Jida and forced her down upon her knees with telekinesis.
Gah!
The guitarist cried as her helmet was suddenly torn away from her head.
No! No, you leave her alone!
Void screamed, while Kor beside him howled in pain, for his arm had snapped upon impact.
You disgust me, girl. The half-breed inside you will be nothing but a disgusting disgrace to our kind. You bring shame upon us all.
Matira boasted, as she suddenly summoned forth a steel gold-plated spear to her hands.
No spark shall be born impure so long as I live.
She called to everyone's horror as she began to raise the weapon up.
No! No, please!
Jaya cried as she tried the warp to do anything, but found that she couldn't move. From Void's perspective, everything began to slow down. His wife and child were about to perish by the hands of his maker. Within his brain, memories of his mother and father flashed, thoughts of how he failed to do anything just to help them. Then came the last 10 years of the both of them practically growing up together, Void and Jida. All the dates, the adventures, their wedding, learning about the pregnancy, to now. Jida was Void's life. A life that he wouldn't allow to fade again. Never again. Blooming out of Void's body appeared bright surges of electricity, making him look as though to be an entirely blue comet. With a thrust, Matira drove the spear downwards towards Jida, while at the same time, Void blasted forward so fast no one had realized what he had done. Until the unimaginable appeared before everyone's eyes. The world felt to suddenly fade away in that split second. With one swift motion, Void made a move that he in truth reacted purely on instinctual love. But soon felt the crushing weight of reality set in. Matira's spear had pierced right through his back and out through his heart, the blade just mere inches away from Jida's horrified face. It felt surreal, an illusion. Pain blossoming through his chest like a flower unfurling.
Void?
Jida gasped as a choking sound escaped the Spark's lips, while the cold metal broke through his body.
Jida?
Void choked out as everyone, even Matira, stared in silence to this act of sacrifice.
No. No.
Jida began to silently weep as a cold gray color began to slowly take over Void's more vibrant shades.
Jida.
Void weakly muttered before being cut off by the collection of angered and horrified shouts from everyone.
Void!
Kor wailed with tears spilling from his broken eyes.
Papa!
Pavnu screamed in anguish as an immediate sense of defeat came across everyone. Reaching out with fading eyes, Void attempted to caress Jida's cheek, but before he could do as such, he was yanked off the spear by his head and turned to face Matira's wrath, looking like a dangling bag of potatoes. The look she held was both of admiration and disappointment.
You're such a hero.
She spat before turning and tossing Void up and over. To everyone's horror, they watched as Void's fading body fell headfirst into the matter vat that stood tall before them all. The world felt the slow for Void. He could hear their screams, their bellows of anguish. While he didn't do much at all, his body hit the burning light and dark liquid. It didn't scorch. Rather, it felt to be a hug. His vision blurred, his mind playing his best memories in a rapid-fire succession, until it all faded into a beautiful, bright light.
Dear boy. Come on, son. Open your eyes. Can't stay sleeping forever.
Slowly opening his eyes, Void was suddenly met with a bright, glowing light that at first stung his irises, but eventually they adjusted down into an eased state.
Oh. What happened?
Void asked as he gazed upon a figure that knelt beside him. They were transparent like a ghost, and glowing with soft cream shades. At first, Void didn't know who or what he was seeing, until it all suddenly clicked. Wait, Mr. Cogson? Void quietly asked as he sat upright in disbelief.
In the saggy flesh.
The old man greeted as he fully helped Void stand to his feet. What? Sir, how? What happened? Where? Void started the question as he looked around at his surroundings. From everywhere, he could see a starry glowing abyss, one that was of whites, blues, and light lavenders. Below, he found himself standing upon a liquid surface, very clear and glistening. And then, Void took notice of himself. Like Cogson, he too was transparent, but glowed predominantly blue. Feeling himself up and down, Void slowly began to piece together what had happened to him, and it sent chills down his spine. No. Mr. Cogson, am I? Void asked as the old man gently placed a hand to his shoulder.
Yes, my boy.
You've passed. To this, Void's mind raced with so many thoughts and questions that it made him want to puke. Passed? He asked in a weak manner, to which Cogson nodded.
You sacrificed yourself, my boy. Welcome to the spaces between, the entryway to an eternal world of rest and peace.
Mr. Cogson introduced, as he gestured towards a massive wall of light, a passageway that would bring Void to the Soleus, Spark Heaven. I... Void began to stutter, as the old man spoke once again.
Also, there's some folks here who have been waiting to see you.
Looking towards the old-timer, Void raised an eyebrow before falling stock still to a familiar voice calling from behind. Void? Holding his breath, Void slowly turned around and nearly fell upon his knees as to what he saw. There, standing side by side with emotional faces on display, was his parents, Nova and Celeste, glowing blue and red with their respective colors. Mom? Dad? The Spark asked in disbelief, as tears began to immediately stream down his face.
Son.
Nova replied, as the pair opened their arms.
Without wasting a second, Void sprinted his way forwards and embraced both of his parents so tightly they all fell to the floor in heaps of tears. Now crying, Nova and Celeste showered their son with so many hugs and kisses that Void completely felt overwhelmed by it all. He couldn't believe it. It was them. It was really them. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Void wept out, making Celeste hold her boy's head up in her soft metal hands.
For what, sweetheart? For what?
She asked, as Void sobbed so hard he struggled to form cohesive words.
I'm sorry. I could have helped you. You died. You both died, and it's all my fault. If I hadn't been there, you wouldn't have. I could have fought.
Leaning their foreheads down, Void's parents could understand what he was saying and rubbed them upon their sons, with their calm voices following after. You have nothing to apologize for, son. Getting you to safety was our top priority. Not only that, you made a life worth living. Nova said as Celeste locked her blue eyes with her son's blueberry irises.
We have been with you every step of the way, and we are all so proud of you.
Celeste assured as she began to wipe Void's tears away with her thumbs.
All?
Void asked to his parents, who both nodded and then helped Void stand up alongside them. Suddenly from all around, hundreds of colors appeared. They were all different shapes, different body types, but most importantly, they were all sparks. To Void's shock, he quickly came to realize it was those who had died during the fall of Salvaheim. As they approached, these sparks all held the looks of compassion and pride in their hearts, while beginning to cheer and clap for Void, who could only cover his mouth in disbelief. Son, we have all seen what you've done. Your persistence to avenge us, to protect so many. All those people you saved. Nova explained, as Void held his head low to the tidal wave of emotions that he begun to feel.
Void, you did the impossible. You, with the help of that wonderful girl you now call wife, your found family, even past the glitches, you carried your compassion and battle-hardened spirit forward to your last breath. And we are all so very proud of you.
Celeste said as she took her son's hands in her own.
Welcome home, my little warrior.
For a long time, Void happily looked upon his family and his fellow Sparks as they all cheered him on. Void couldn't have been any happier in that moment. And yet, even with the prospect of peace awaiting him just a few steps away, Void found himself in deep thought.
Sweetheart, what's wrong?
Celeste asked, as all the Sparks now looked upon Void with curious eyes.
I can't be here. Not yet.
Void stated to everyone's confusion, as he simply narrowed his eyes back up. What do you mean, son? Nova asked as he placed his hand back upon Void's shoulder. Letting go of his mother's hands, Void looked back up towards everyone with a flicker of that ever-present determination in his soul. I can't rest yet. My friends, my wife, my child, they need me. They're in danger. Void explained with dread in his heart. To this, Celeste gave a somber reply, not sure of how to really be honest with him.
Honey, you've passed. There's no way of returning to your physical form. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but it's over.
To her words, Void's face fell to a saddened state, to which all of the sparks with understanding mindsets began to comfort him. No, there has to be a way to go back. I can't leave her. I can't leave my baby. They need me. Void reinstated as he gently grasped the orange guitar pick that was around his neck. There has to be a way to go back. Matira's gonna kill them. Void exclaimed to the shaking heads of his fellow sparks. I'm sorry, son. There's no way of returning once you pass. Their fight is now their own. You did all you could. Noah tried to explain with audible remorse in his voice. No. Please, there has to be a way. The blue spark whimpered, feeling all sense of hope fade from his soul. That was, until a booming voice erupted from afar.
No, there is a way to return to the land of the living, but it is an offer that comes at a cost.
Turning around, all the sparks looked towards the giant wall of light, watching in amazement as the Sparkborns emerged in their spirit form. Up in front was Seraphim, and behind him were the other gods that had fallen. Lord Seraphim! Void asked in awe and surprise, as all the Sparkborns now stood around him and his family with an ethereal shine emanating off their bodies.
Hello again, friend. We have heard your wish to return to your world, a wish that we are willing to grant.
The Matter God stated as they all knelt down before Void, making him feel rather small in their magnificent presence. Wait, are you being real? Void questioned up to his gods, making all the Sparkborns return the look with one passionate thought.
Novason, you without a doubt have seen what you mean to all of these sparks. Yet you do not grasp the amount of honor you carry in your heart.
Seraphim began, leaving Void looking upon him with glistening, curious eyes.
You went out of your way to battle an impossible one-man war, choosing to defend what we stood for, even in the face of literal death. Even then, you have proven time and time again to carry a golden heart, risking life for your friends, facing fears, to even protecting those who hate you.
The god exclaimed with a hand outstretched towards the younger Novason.
Within, you carry all the aspects that we Sparkborn strive to stand for, to believe in others. You, my friend, you are hope in physical form, a leader waiting to blossom like a flower.
With a gentle smile, Seraphim held out both hands, and then said something that made Void's mind race.
Novason, if you so wish to return, we Sparkborns can merge what remains of our souls within yours, and return you into a state beyond your original form. You shall be reborn as a Sparkborn demigod, or as we love to say, a matter birth.
Seraphim revealed, leaving Void taken aback. What? A matter birth? Sparkborn? Me? He asked while feeling the hands of his parents rest over his shoulders.
Yes. You have proven yourself time and time again that you are worthy to carry the title. But I warn you, if you wish to take upon this mantle, the future of the Sparks shall reside in your hands, for they will look up to you for guidance.
Seraphim continued, as Void began to think on the offer.
Threats far and wide shall come for your power. You must defend those that are left, to take care of them when needed. Something you appear pretty capable of doing already.
Looking up with determination in his eyes, Void stared Seraphim down and asked, Will I be able to stop Matira with this second chance? He asked, to which Seraphim bowed his head. Slowly turning around, Void stared upon his parents for guidance, to which they held a compassionate and proud look upon their faces. Void, when you were born, we had never imagined this was the path you would have followed. But me and your mother are proud of how you have walked it thus far. The choice is not ours. This is yours, son. Nova lovingly expressed, knowing full well what Void was about to decide.
We believe in you, Void. All of us.
Celeste added, resulting in Void lunging forwards again and hugging his parents tightly. Slowly pulling back, Void looked them both square in the eye and gave a small smile. I would love nothing more than to stay with you and everyone here forever. But this is what I have to do. It's what my heart is telling me to do. Void spoke with hope, to which Celeste and Nova smiled, while proceeding to slowly back off. I love you guys so much. Void spoke with love in his heart, to which his parents mouthed the words, "We love you too." Nodding down to his parents, Void turned around and then nodded to the Sparkborns, who all bowed in response. Very well. Are you ready, Nova-san? Seraphine asked with a hand extended, to which Void took hold. Yes, was all that was needed to be said, commencing a sudden transformation. All in unison, the Sparkborns began to glow and swirl into a pollinated light, a light so warm that Void truly felt at peace. Beginning to levitate, Void released a gasp as he felt his body begin to change. Without pain, his mechanical form and all of his parts began to rapidly disassemble and reassemble with a golden sapphire mixed shine. His old parts suddenly refused into steels and violet blues. The birthmarks around Void's head and his body essence began to blend with the golden yellow shade too, as all of the Sparkborns began to reform into Void's brand new soul. As the young Spark began to ascend back to the lands of the living, Nova suddenly perked up and ran towards his boy with wide eyes. Void! He cried out with a growing smile. Within his hurricane of light, Void opened his eyes to see his father summon forth a spiritual recreation of his old spear, to which he tossed it into the vortex. Show that scrap snapper what a true spark looks like! Yeah! Nova cheered as his spear got mixed in with Void's transforming body. As he called with excitement, all the other sparks cheered aloud, rooting for the one who was about to ascend into a more important role within their people's society. Void suddenly felt a power unlike anything he's ever felt before. It was a sensation of peace, a newfound strength that made him believe that he could do anything if he truly believed in such. With a mix of both blue and yellow lightning, Void smirked and suddenly zapped away like he hadn't even been there to begin with, leaving the afterlife and being granted a second chance at living. As he faded, all the sparks below waved towards the sky, knowing that one day they'll all meet again. Good luck, Void, Celeste whispered as a small tear streamed down her cheek, a tear of pride and hope. The air crackled with tension, the scent of ash and smoke heavy in the atmosphere. A desolate threat standing before her, cackling upon her and those who had just witnessed Void's death. Still upon her knees, Jida began to burn. Her heart started to rapidly beat in her chest as flames danced at her fingertips, flickering dangerously as her skin began to burn with constellations. Void was dead. Her husband, the soon-to-be father of their baby, the man that saved her life, he was gone.
You thought this would end without death,
Matira taunted, stepping forward with arrogance radiating off her like heat from a furnace.
Look at you. Look at all of you, imbeciles.
Jaida's breath turned ragged, a low growl rising in her throat. Pain coursed through her, mingling with fury, an inferno igniting in her chest. You... She whispered, every word being laced with the scorching wrath of a grieving soul. With sudden movement, Jaida managed to break free from Matira's hold in a mighty warp. Within seconds, she extended her hands skywards, and then the air around began to shimmer, the temperature rising sharply. Flames now erupted from Jaida's palms, swirling and crackling, staining the ground around her in vibrant oranges and purples. Jaida now drew upon the anguish within her, forging it into a weapon, the sorrow transforming into relentless power. It churned and roared, fueled by the memory of Void, his laughter, his warmth, now reduced to mere echoes in her mind. Jaida shrieked in agony, startling Matira as the fire intensified, nearly blinding in its brilliance. In shock, Matira staggered back, but Jaida was no longer restrained by grief. She was the Inferno, and the flames became her voice. With a scream that reverberated in the hearts of her injured allies, Jaida thrust her hands forwards, unleashing a barrage of fire that surged towards Matira like a living entity. The heat was unbearable, warping the air ablaze with hues of reds and lavenders. The fire twisted and coiled around the goddess, being an extension of Jaida's fury and sorrow, consuming everything in its path. Matira's smugness evaporated, being replaced by a tense reaction as the inferno closed in. She rapidly stumbled, trying to escape, but Jaida was relentless. Walls of flame surrounded the goddess. The anger within Jaida was truly a force to be reckoned with. She was a goddess in and of herself, turning the ground beneath her feet to molten lumps of metal.
How could you? You killed him! You killed my wife!
She bellowed, her voice slicing through the roaring flames.
You killed my best friend! My husband! My everything!
The explosion of Jaida's hair illuminated the starry sky, a brilliant display of power and vengeance. In that moment, Jaida became the embodiment of her rage, a force of nature hell-bent on retribution. And as the flames engulfed Matira, the goddess quickly maneuvered a massive ray of matter light that knocked Jaida down so hard she nearly fainted.
Enough!
The goddess bellowed with panic as she quickly entangled Jaida in several wires and burning cords. Using her magic, Matira continued to push Jaida down while bringing forth her spear again.
You love him so much, then why don't you join him, you pyromaniac?
Matira screamed as she attempted to stab Jaida down once again. Yet, as she brought the spear down, a sudden bolt of blue and yellow electricity shot out of the wall, striking Matira's hand, in turn, knocking the spear out of her grasp.
God!
She cried while stumbling into the matter vat. In shock, everyone looked at what had just happened, surprised by the sudden surge of power.
What was...
The goddess began to question, but all of a sudden, waves of electricity began to bounce and explode out from the machinery, going around the glass like a hurricane, before it all suddenly shot down in front of Jaida, taking form of a figure that left all their jaws agape. As the light faded and reformed, the figure stood upright, wielding a golden and electrified spear in their hands. Nobody could believe it. In unison, both Jaida and Kor said his name.
Void!
Standing to his full height, the younger Novasun glared Matira down, but he now sported what was visibly a changed body. The blue spark was now wearing an intricate, light gray steel armor. This brand new bodyguard featured detailed patterns and accents of deep blue markings that surged with similarly colored electricity. The armor appeared to be of ancient design, with visible joints and segmented plating that held chiseled runes, topped with an electrified sapphire heart emblem in the center of his chest. Resting above it sat Jaida's orange necklace, now integrated into the armor as a charm. Void's head was the same as before, however larger with one changed detail. His horns, they were now sharp and grown, glowing with a mix of blue and yellow shines. With a spin, he slashed Jaida's restraints away, making her stand and clutch her belly in disbelief.
Void? Is that...
she whispered. Looking over his shoulder, with glowing blue and yellow eyes, Void gave a tiny smile and nod before standing in front of his wife, making Jaida realize he had now passed her height. Void had gone from 5'10" to a solid 6'1". Scrambling up, everyone else looked upon Void with shock and amazement. He was alive! Transformed into a state that left every spark with a grin, except for Matira.
No, they didn't,
she stated while standing back to her feet and readying her spear.
They did not,
she repeated as Void set himself for battle. Shut it down, Matira. Now! Void pleaded as he locked his eyes upon her. Please, you don't have to do this, he reasoned, but Matira wasn't having it.
You think just because my children gave you life means you have the right to stop me? No!
Matira boasted as the Mattervat called aloud.
T-minus 5 minutes.
You dare defy your god?
She asked while charging up with energy. No, you've already defied yourself. Void spat back as his mother's battle helmet clashed over his head. It appeared that his new armor was based off its design. Scowling in rage, Matira extended her wings and blasted forwards towards Void, who ran right towards her in response.
Oh shit!
Harmony called as the clash of the gods commenced. With a deafening crack of thunder, the goddess and Spark surged forwards, their spears slashing through the air with eerie grace.
You dare challenge me, you pretender god!
Matira bellowed, her voice resonating with the weight of countless sins. Tendrils of dark matter suddenly swirled around her spear to avoid shock, augmenting her speed as she lunged at the armored warrior. But the newly united Matterbirth was ready. With a swift flick of his wrist, arcs of lightning leapt from the tips of his spear, forming a radiant shield that deflected a slash. We don't have to fight! There's still time to fix this! Void shouted as the sounds of electricity came hissing around him like a venomous serpent.
No! I won't stop till I bring them back! Don't you realize you're all about to bring about our extinction?
Matira cried, being unaware of the group effort everyone was making to get Joby free from behind. As she slashed again, the electric warrior sidestepped gracefully, his movements as fluid as the crackling currents coursing through his veins. With a powerful swing of his spear, he unleashed a burst of electricity that sliced through the air, catching Matira off. Maybe so, but we Sparks, we are supposed to protect the unprotected. If that means our kind dies out for it, then so be it, Void declared, and with that proclamation, a bolt of lightning arced down from his spear, striking the ground between them and sending shards of metal flying. The goddess snarled towards Void's action, but quickly regained her composure. Drawing upon her inner power, she summoned what were dark matter shadows to envelop Void. But even as she tried to snare him, the electric warrior pressed his advantage, flowing with the battle as he executed a series of rapid thrusts, his father's spear a blur of shimmering light. Your rage, your desperation, it blinds you. Remember who you were. You don't have to do this, Void exclaimed defiantly. Yet, the goddess had more tricks up her sleeve. With another flick of her wrist, she transformed the shadows into tendrils that lashed outwards towards the warrior, seeking to bind him. But from out of the blue, or rather orange, Jida emerged at the goddess's side, flashing with brilliant sparks as she deflected the dark tendrils with her flames, breaking their grip before they could seize her husband. "Blue! Tag team!" Jida suddenly screamed, just as Joby was freed from within the back. Nodding, Void quickly took his wife's hand, which ignited them both into their Beyonder forms, glowing purple and startling Matira in her steps. "We got her!" Winona cried, while Core and Sika held on to their daughter. However, they, as well as the other Sparks, turned to witness what the duo were doing, and immediately wanted to help. "Hold her!" Core asked, as they passed the sound asleep Joby to those who weren't under Matira's rule for the last decade. Realizing that the tide of battle was turning, the goddess intensified her dark matter power. Shadows twisted and writhed as she conjured a vortex of malevolence, intent on overwhelming her foes. The air thickened with a suffocating darkness that threatened to snuff out the flickering light. However, the electric warrior and his allies sensed the escalating danger. With a fierce determination igniting within them, Void and Jida both planted their feet firmly, grounding themselves. Together, they started to channel all of their combined energy into one decisive attack. As they did this, each spark got a good hit on Matira. Slashes, punches, and kicks came from each of them, Core and Sika of which punched the goddess so hard her metal faceplate shattered, revealing the fleshy and grotesque saggy skin beneath. "No!" Void screamed. Thrusting their hands forwards, a colossal bolt of lightning came exploding outwards, enveloping the room and cascading through the air towards the goddess. Matira realized too late the magnitude of the attack hurtling towards her. Springs of dark energy erupted from her in desperation, an attempt to absorb the incoming surge. The lightning, the Beyonder energy, relentless, pure, and powerful, overcame the shadows, shattering the dark barrier with explosive force. The blast illuminated the top of the Reformator into an instant shine, as if day had forced its way through the blackened haze. The goddess's eyes widened in horror as the electric surge slammed into her, catching her off balance and sending her sprawling right into the matter vat. As she made contact, the giant glass container shattered to life and expelled all the matter essence that was immediately released into the air, just 5 seconds before extraction was to commence. Swirls of white and dark swarmed the top of the ship for a good few seconds, before all of it slipped out of the Reformator seams and was fully released into the cosmos as one massive power surge. Amidst the release, Matira released one last cry of defeat before all went white. As the dust settled, Void, Jida, and the rest stood triumphant in their endeavors. They had done it. They had actually done it. Looking around themselves, they watched as swirls of matter life dance through the air, both in and outside the Reformator, many of it looking to descend upon Earth. For a long time, everyone glanced at one another, from Joby, who was now safely returned to her parents, then the Void, who was now a walking can of worms. "Void, how is this possible?" Jida asked as she reached up her hands to feel his face. It was most definitely him, just bigger. You were killed right in front of us. You got so big. Your horns. Oh wow, your horns. She rambled with wonder, to which Void smiled and leaned his head forwards upon her own. Yeah, I have a bit to explain," he said with a soft chuckle, before suddenly feeling Core wrap his arm around him and giving him a noogie. "Ha! Someone finally grew out their horns! Ha ha ha!" The older Novason said, as everyone suddenly embraced in a massive group hug. "Dad, you're like a ghost," Pofnu said, as a series of questions began to fall upon his ears. How? Lee stammered, making Void chuckle. Well, I was kind of brought back from the dead? He tried to say, as he then took notice of Gluppy chewing on his foot. Oh, guess the dog survived, he said while picking him up and returning the glob of muck to Joby's sleeping body. She alright? Void then questioned, to which Kor and Sika nodded. Alive. That's all that matters, Kor answered, right as the audible sounds of Matira groaning came from the shuffling, shattered glass of the Mattervat's remains.
You. How dare you!
She angrily snarled in a way that indicated that she was not able to fight.
You have doomed us all! You have set us back by decades!
She ranted while crawling towards the group of heroes.
You, all of you, I shall damn you to the shades upon death! Do you hear me? Damn you to the shades!
She wailed, trying to act all high and mighty. Stepping forwards, Void activated his matter extractor and aimed it right towards Matira, making her halt in place. You created our people for the sole purpose of keeping worlds safe, and now you curse us for enacting the very rules that have been passed down through generations? Void asked as he retracted his mask with a disappointed stare. Most in my shoes would kill you, but that's not who I am. Bringing death upon you would make me no different to your own actions. But somewhere inside you, I know there's a goddess who can make the right choice. But that's a goddess you must find yourself. In a state of silence, Matira stared Void down, without so much as a word. She was angry, but she knew very well how outmatched she was now. It was over. Go. Return to the Soleus, and never step foot on Earth again. Slowly standing up, Matira, in a shattered state, just glared upon them all in a fit of disappointment. With a little huff, she opened a golden portal and turned, limping her way through without so much as a peep. Just like that, the fallen goddess, the one who was supposed to protect them, to guide them, was gone, leaving Earth saved for yet another day, and everyone within the Reformator taking a long-needed breath of relief. As Christmas morning came, the fluorescent lights of the delivery room cast a sterling glow, but the atmosphere was anything but clinical. Soft whispers and gentle laughter filled the air, a comforting sympathy of encouragement that enveloped Jida as she lay in the hospital bed, ready to welcome her firstborn child into the world. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor blended with the cadence of her breaths, creating an unexpected melody that echoed the anticipation in the room. Around her, there was Void, holding tightly onto her hand, her cousin, Nock, his friends, as well as those from the old friend group. Even Sankson was there. Alongside them were all the Sparks, making the hospital room feel a bit cramped, but it didn't matter. To all of them, this was a special moment. They had formed a cocoon of love and support, each person's presence a testament to the strength that only family and friends could provide during such a monumental moment. Jida, in a world of pain, squeezed Void's hand tightly, drawing her strength from his own sense of calmness. His eyes, blue and yellow, were locked on hers, filled with love and pride, offering a grounding presence amidst the whirlwind of emotions. As another contraction hit, waves of pain rolled through Jida, causing her to grip the bed's railing with white knuckles. Nock and Pofnu, standing by her side, leaned in closer. "You're doing great, Mom. Just a little longer." Jida nodded, trying to focus on her first truthful child's words, as she breathed through intensity, each breath a tangible push towards the new life Sterling within her. I can't believe we're here. This is actually happening. It was like yesterday she was graduating high school and now she's gonna be a mom. Sarv murmured with tears to Tucker, who was seated beside her on a couch. We're about to witness a disgusting little miracle, Harmony shouted, while Jovi sat in Sika's arms, being forced to look away from the horrors of nature. To her words, Kor nodded enthusiastically, peeking over to his brother and Jida. You nervous? Kor asked, to which Void rapidly nodded his head, breaking his calm illusion. Yeah. What kind of question was that? He asked, making Kor snicker and nudge his brother's shoulder. At the nurse's direction, Jida shifted positions, and the room fell quiet except for the sounds of her labored breathing and the reassuring beeps of the monitors. The tension in the air was thick with anticipation. Void brushed the damp hair away from Jida's forehead, whispering words of encouragement between her heavy breaths. You got this, Freckles. Just a few more pushes. At that moment, the doctor entered the room, a Lavenwolf with a calming presence amidst the flurry of activity. With a soft smile, she assessed the scene, the family gathered in firm attention, their faces glowing with pride and love for Jida. All right, Miss Woods, you're doing wonderfully. Are you ready for the next phase? You're just about there. The room erupted into a chorus of support. You can do it, Jida. We're right here. Winona chimed in. You got this. Remember to breathe. Sika added, as Atlas is best not to faint from the sight. Energy swirled as they all found their footing. Void kissed Jida's forehead. Nock held her hand. And Coco gave a simple thumbs up. With renewed determination, Jida focused, letting the pain guide her. The pressure intensified, but amidst the discomfort, she could feel the unmistakable thrill of impending motherhood. With one final push, the doctor's voice boomed gently. Come on, just about there. One more time, Miss Woods. The guitarist's mind raced, fueled by the love for those around her. She could hear the encouragement of her family, the rhythm of their hearts meshing with her own, a united force propelling her forwards. Drawing in a deep breath, she pushed one last time, her body igniting with a fierce, fiery energy that began to heat the room up with intensity. And then, silence enveloped the room, making it feel as though it were suspended in time. The only sound that broke through was a wail, a bright sound that filled every corner of the space with pure joy and love. Seconds later, a tiny, squirming bundle was nestled in Jida's arms, a small and perfect miracle resting within an orange blanket. In absolute silence, Void and Jida stared down at the little one. The baby had Void's head and horn structure, an orb shape with 6 itty-bitty lumps on the spots as Void's horn placements. Unlike a normal spark, however, the little one retained a human body, a light purple skin tone that, to everyone's surprise, didn't have arms. The little one had small freckled cheeks and eyes like that of Jida's. Except instead of being orange, the little one had the most beautiful purple tint that made Jida's and Void's hearts swell. Tears began to spill from Jida's eyes as she gazed at the tiny face looking back up at her. Her heart swelled beyond measure. Void then leaned in, his voice trembling with emotion. It's a boy, he cried as he gently embraced Jida as well as the newborn. Stifling a gasp of joy, Sika composed herself while Harmony and Lee jumped up, clapping and crying, the energy in the room crackling with overwhelming love, for a new spark had just entered the multiverse. As the nurse carefully wiped down the newborn, Jida gently whispered down to him, Jay. Oh, Jay. Around her, the faces of her loved ones glowed in admiration, a tightly knit family encircled by joy and shared dreams. I have a son," Voight said, as if he himself was starting to realize that he was an actual father now. "Looks like we'll have to craft the little guy some arms. I'll count it as my first uncle gift." Cor said as he rested an arm over his brother's shoulder. "Hi, Jay," Voight greeted. From the sound of his voice, Jay suddenly stopped crying and turned to look upon his father. Immediately, he started to giggle, sensing that long-desired connection they shared for oh so long. With tears spilling, Voight gently leaned his head forwards and ever so softly touched it upon Jay's. For the very first time. In unison, both Void's and Jay's horns gently hummed with their respective colors, blue and purple, a bond that shall never break. This was more than just a moment of birth. It was a celebration of life, a tapestry of support woven with threads of love, laughter, and promise, the kind of memory that would forever be etched in their hearts. The miracle of new beginnings had unfurled within those four walls, a legacy anchored in connection and joy, a lineage saved, shaping the family they had always dreamed of becoming, a family fully reunited. A few days had passed since little Jay was born. A few days since the events of the Reformator went down. A few days since anyone had felt a bit of rest. Back in the woods behind Aurora, Voight and Jida had continued to work on their cabin, now alongside three more. Cor and the rest of the Sparks had decided that they too would make home on Earth, for they had nowhere else to go. No Reformator, no goal. It was their only option, one that they embraced fully. Sitting upon a log, Voight and Jida rested with their baby boy, while Cor relaxed right beside them, having been tired from a long day of construction. Behind them, working effortlessly, were the Sparks making the three separate cabins they would soon live in. One was for Cor, Sika, and Joby, another for Alice and Evelyn, and the last for both Harmony and Lee, who had been seen around holding hands for the last couple of days. The weather was pleasantly warm that day, all things considered, meaning that the environment outside was pretty nice for late winter. "Do you like the snow? Are you making a little snowman? Yes, you are. Yes, you are." Jada squealed with motherly love as her and Jay sat in the frost, the little one of which just rolling a ball of snow back and forth with some newly adapted arms designed by Cor, a pair no different to a natural Spark's limbs. "Thanks for making Jay some arms, Cor. I think he's grown pretty accustomed." Voight thanked his brother, to which Cor just nodded while wearing the same winter attire as from the fair. No biggie. Just glad to see the little guy use them." Cor chuckled, watching as Jay tried the teeth on Jida's fingers. "Hey, no biting, you silly Billy. That's my job. Nom 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 nom," Jida playfully said while kissing Jay's cheek, which made the boy giggle. "So, Matterbirth, huh?" Cor asked as him and Void looked up towards the sky, watching as the Reformator traveled within Earth's orbit, akin to a satellite or the moon. "Yeah, I still don't exactly know what I got myself into, if you want me to be completely honest," Void replied as he poked the top of his now sharpened horns. "God, that feels weird." He mentioned the Cor's giddy response. "Hey, they look good. You look just like Dad." The older Novason compared to Void's delight, making him roll his eyes. "Come on, really?" he questioned with a bombastic side-eye. "Well, with that twinkle of yellow in your eyes now. Yeah!" After this little conversation, the two brothers fell silent once more, while Jida and Jay continued the play. For a good few moments, they just watched the reformator slowly pass by, still feeling reminiscent of what had happened to them, void of which, even sensing a bit of phantom pain in his chest. Although all worked out in the end, those memories of what happened remain fresh, and would stay as such for a long time.
So, Mom and Dad, they were really okay?
Cor inquired as the stars flickered in his orange shining eyes. Them, Cogson, everyone. They're all okay. We'll see them again one day. And trust me, it's gonna be great. Void assured, to which Cor couldn't help but smile.
Good. Also, glad to have Father's spear back, by the way. That thing was a relic.
Cor stated to Void's agreement. No kidding, he replied, as Sika suddenly approached with Joby beside her. Are you guys ready to head back to the workshop for the night? Pofnu's getting hungry, and I think the location stations are starting to freeze. The now unfortunately broken horn Spark had asked, as the fox jumped forwards and grabbed her love handles. Hungry! She exclaimed, making them all laugh. Yeah, I do suppose it's time we head back. Don't want little Jay getting cold. Ford replied as the three stood, with Jida carrying their little boy in her arms. I'm hungry too. Can we make hot dogs? Joby begged with a little dance and skip.
Hot dogs? Again?
Cor questioned as they all began to walk their way to the location stations.
Yes, Spark Uncle. Hot dogs, hot dogs, hot dogs, hot dogs, hot dogs.
Pofnu began to chant, to which everyone laughed again, but suddenly stopped as a powerful pulse erupted from behind. Whirling around, everyone within the area stood on immediate guard, as from literal nowhere, a hot pink rift tear opened up from thin air. Whoa, 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 what the hell? Harmony shouted, as her and all the other Sparks approached with their weapons ready. Oh my god! Jida, stay back! Void yelled with sudden fear, as the tear began to open wide, revealing a bubblegum shade of another dimensional essence within. Wait, whoa! What is that? Jida asked, as she shielded her baby away from what they were seeing. The wind and air began to swirl, the snow being tossed about, as the massive rift created its own vortex. Slowly approaching, a blurry sight began to appear from within, a shambling shape that got larger and larger with a visibly smaller figure beside it. Readying his spear, Void gripped it with burning intensity as the two figures stepped through, cloaked and shadowed. Who are you? Void called out to the figures that stood still for a second, until eventually complying with the Spark's call. Reaching their hands up, the tallest figure took their hood and pulled it back, revealing another Spark. Her eyes were a bright teal green, her brown reddish head marked with white tattoos, and her scalp donned with 6 sharp horns that curved into a crown shape. For a long moment, everyone stared in shock as to what they were seeing, for Cor suddenly uttered a name Void had not heard since he was but a boy.
Queen Rosalind?
He asked in awe as the smaller figure pulled their cloak back. Underneath was a younger Spark, same skin type, eyes, tattoo, while with 2 long, misshapen horns on her forehead. Princess Jessicaldra? Sika then said, as Void lowered his weapon and stared with bewildered eyes upon who had just appeared. All would have more than likely remained silent, however, if it weren't for Gluppy slowly slinking up and suddenly vomiting into the snow.
Blech!